Hey, this thing's pretty cool. Figured out I would just give this live stream a try, figure out what we're doing. So I think we're looking at our next video here. I wanted to show you guys that this is a order that I got. So this is a Lenovo ThinkCentre M720E that I paid $71 for, and there's a shipping. I hate that handling that Goodwill charges, but $97.03 for a 9th gen i5 small form factor machine that they said it works. Haven't had a chance to test it yet, but we'll see. And then this is a kind of one of my more favorite finds recently. This is an NVIDIA T400. This is I believe, a 4-core GDDR6 card. These go like 75 to 120 bucks. I found this at a local game store called Game Exchange, and they actually have recently, within the last probably 2 years, started taking in computer parts, and I've actually been finding some pretty good deals on it. So, said small form factor, kind of a base. Ooh, these are not my dongles. Let's see what we got here. Fun fact: if you ever get these little Logitech dongles and they have the orange, they're reprogrammable. So if you keep those, there's a website you can go to, Logitech, and actually reprogram that dongle for another compatible device. So as we were looking at kind of a budget base looking system, their I/O on the back. Let's see, how does this live work? Do y'all come in, or I'm sure it'll get uploaded later? But yeah, let's take a look at what we're looking at here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so there was the 9th Gen i5. Said it turned on, didn't say anything about memory. A little dusty, but not a terrible looking machine, I guess. Let's see. Let's take the, oh, yep. Definitely smells like it was used in a smoker's house or something. That's ooh, it's not great. But, let's see. You'll have to bear with me on this. This is what I'm not used to. Let's see, is this it? Okay, so that takes out the CD drive. That's cool. I don't really like disk drives anyway. There it is. Little screw down in there. Let's open this bad boy up, see what we're working with. Well, that's good. So we've got 2 RAM slots, 1 NVMe, which is a, you're looking at size-wise, 256 gigabyte NVMe, and what are we looking at right now? An 8 gigabyte stick of, oh, sorry, trying 8 gigabytes DDR4. Cool. Well, depending on, I may wind up getting another stick. Let's take a gander. Let's see what we got here. We got our little, this is our little fan shroud. I mean, it's clean, but it's got a little bit of dust, you know, a little bit of dust thrown there, but damn. Okay, we got an 80 plus bronze. There's a max 180 watt. I don't know if you can see that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm talking to myself or if this is going to be uploaded in the future, and then you guys can watch it. But got some things going on. I'm not quite ready to go to bed on a Friday, but quick dusting. You know what? Since we're pretty much here, we'll just go ahead and get this power supply out. So I've been doing some pretty interesting trades. There's a local video game store in Central Arkansas, a town called Cabot, Arkansas. Stage 2 Games. The guy who owns it's an amazing guy. He's been in business over 20 years, and frankly, I've been buying games from him since I was a teenager, 20 years ago. So, but anyhow, with the trades, let's see. Oh yeah, there's a little lever back there to hold it in place. He is moving his store to a location, to a bigger spot, and he's wanting to get a retro camera back together. So I'm trading him some CRTs. I traded him a 32-inch CRT a few months ago, as well as then I'm getting two 27-inch TVs. Let's see here, what can we do? I got this guy and this guy. I am in both those TVs for exactly free, so he usually pays me 40 cash or 50 or 60 credit. I think I'm going to probably try to push for 100 on both of those because that Philips in there is actually pretty high spec. It's got composite, S-Video, SP diff, the sound interface that Sony and Philips use comes out in the orange plug. But so I apologize, everything's dirty in here on the workbench, as you can see. Got several things in the work I've got a guy who wants that little TV. Offered me an Intellivision, several boxed games. That's just a mono AV Magnavox with the front buttons don't work on it, but the $10 remote has made that TV fixable or usable. And to be honest, it's actually a pretty clean screen. But hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Cool. So I found isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle. So thought that might be a little bit easier than trying to, let's see, it's a stream, so. Oh my gosh, can you hear that stupid cat? I'd bring her out here if I didn't have chemicals actively working. Stripping a desk, or not a desk, a dresser. So, cats, they'll jump right into that. So, trying to avoid that, but that spray is sweet. So, we're rocking an i5 9400. Not a bad processor. So far, I think that was a pretty solid buy for $97.03. Let's see. Let's try the spray on this. Well, that's not terrible. And I'll be honest with you, I've been getting kind of lazy about dusting and cleaning systems when I get it. I used to take apart every system, but that takes time. Yeah, see, dust, man. But I was actually kind of surprised to see this machine and see that it was as cheap as it was, because now, very easy, but on eBay, I've seen similar machines with a little bit better, like higher RAM and some storage, going for $200 to $300. So the plan, I think, with this one is make video, sell system. I think that's, but I mean, it is fully supports Windows. I don't know. We'll see. If anybody actually sees this, leave a comment. Let me know what I should do with it. Throw in something like a 1650 low profile would be an interesting. Would be interesting. So let's get this back together. There we go. There's always something satisfying about power supplies. I don't know what it is, but I really do enjoy power supplies, and especially super old pre-builts. If I get one, I'll usually pick one up and open them up, which I don't recommend doing unless you have training. I'm an electronics technician by trade, so I am within my skill set to do so. But I have a power supply tester. Plug it in. It's a little gummy, but plug in all your connectors, and then you turn on the power supply, and it'll give you voltage readings. And so far, it's been a pretty accurate machine for me. I think I picked that up a year or two ago for, I don't know, $25 or so on Amazon. But it comes up. So we're here in 2026, and turns out that I've been in computers 10 years. That's kind of surprising. I was not to date myself too much, but I went into the military working on electronics in the Navy, and wanted to do something that liked technical work, but wasn't. I was ironically got offered to work as an IT in the Navy, and I was like, no, it's dumb. And now 10 years later, well, at this point, 12 years later, after I got out of the Navy, that's what I wound up doing. I was working in IT, was able to spend my experience as an electronics technician working on printers. I was able to translate that to business office technology, which was printers, copiers, and their associated computers. More printers and copiers than I want to admit, honestly, but it was a job. Did that for 4 years, and then went full time with the Air Force and became an aircraft mechanic. Which that was a dream come true. I wanted to work on planes coming out of high school, but well, dang, that's always keep extra thermal paste. I have that one. Hoping this weekend to have all of this cleaned up and straightened back up. And I think the biggest issue that I've identified with my lighting or with my videos is lighting. Like, the house was built in the '70s, and it definitely shows it in the garage out here with the wood paneling, which is the same wood paneling that's in my game room, but I painted it in the game room like a light cream color, and it really did brighten up the room. But in the garage, I actually want to insulate in here, so I don't really want to put a ton of work into paneling I'm going to pull off and probably put fire retardant drywall up. But I've got some ideas I want to work with on trying to get the lighting situation sorted out. I think I'm going to build a backdrop on the workbench that I made, which you see this thing is amazing. I think as of up to date, I think the heaviest I've had on it is close to 500 pounds. Just pleasantly surprised. I didn't build it any specific way other than use 4x4 posts for the legs. I notched them for 2x4s across, and then I attached everything up. I call it the fat guy test. I'm 230 pounds, and I can get on it, dance a jig, and it's fine. It doesn't wobble or wiggle or anything. But what else we got? I don't know, man. This so 8 gigabytes of RAM. Thinking about it now, that's be okay for some very, very light gaming, but I think what's going to be more of a hindrance on this than actually checking or getting the system running with 16 gigabytes of that single channel memory. Check, I don't honestly have very many DDR4 machines left after this stupid parts thing we're in. Most of my stuff is DDR3, which was funny because I was actually, ironically, the process of phasing out my DDR3 machines, but due to life stacking up, it wound up not working out that way. And frankly, really glad I kept my stuff because I wouldn't have any machines. I have like 2 DDR4 machines. Let's see. I got the RAM pile. Let's see. Hither. Let's move this. So, very transitional phase of the space in the garage. So, you can see that. RAM. Most of the RAM is in this little guy. It has so many sticks of RAM. Mostly DDR3. I actually went through, I kind of wish I hadn't, but back in January, I had to come up with some money because my furnace went out about, probably 3 or 4 days before this massive ice storm that we had. So, what really hadn't been paying attention to the RAM prices, and then all of a sudden, like $600 in DDR4 sitting around that I've had for years. So it went to a good cause getting my furnace, we made it through the winter, and now it's just going to start getting hot. But, there's PC. I think that's ECC memory. 5 gigabytes there. Hey, there we go. Woohoo! Always keep your extra parts, man. PC4 2666V. Let me check this stick. I think this was 2666 as well. Yeah! Winner, chicken dinner. This is the one that came out of the machine. Sorry, let's try to. Yeah, whatever, you can see that. Cool. Saved myself like $60 on the upgrade. Cool. I'm probably going to hold on to this machine for a while. At least through this little parts apocalypse we're dealing with. I mean, it's crazy. This chip shortage, come on now, which way was this? Had it right the first time. Anybody else do that? You go to pop something into a slot and it just won't click. This machine was kind of a shot in the dark because some Goodwills are really, really good about listing the specs of machines. They test it. This one was listed as working, turns on. And I'm like, awesome. It turns on. Well, you know, another issue we're going to run into with this system, I just noticed, PCIe slot is on the bottom, so we're going to only be able to get a single slot card in there. But I literally, as I said, I picked this up because it was a good deal, and then I got this system, and then a couple days after I bought that system, which was about a week ago, noticed that I was like, something in the back of my brain was telling me, "Hey, dummy, check your parts stash." And I think we got us a little match made in heaven now. So the guys got those. What are those? Those mini display ports. I believe is what that is. I've got that. Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of adapters that hang out like that, but they just use you a display port, which is going to be annoying because I already have HDMI to DisplayPort or to a DVI or whatever that. You know what it is. But I should know. But keep in mind it's 12:15. I'm tired. I'm old. I don't say this thing usually. So you got 250 gig SSD or a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive. I think I'm just gonna throw the SSD in. Make this a nice power efficient system. That'll give me 500 gigs of storage. That'd be good. Is this recording at all? Okay, so that mutes the mic. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with this. I haven't gone live in ever, but not sure if it's something I'm gonna do. Just thought it might be interesting. Let's see. All right, so back to the machine. I got the 4 screws in, power supply's back in. Man, see this is on. It's so dark. And my gimbal broke, which sucks because that was like a $100 gimbal. But 2 RAMs, dusted it out, fresh thermal paste. Let's get this guy. That actually has room to screw onto the back. Just boop, just like that. So, one suggestion I will always make, if I can find the stupid thing, I think I found this at Micro Center. Yes. I think this at Micro Center for $9 last time I was in Kansas City. Universal screw kit. Just perfect, man. It's got standoffs, thumb screws, fine thread, coarse thread. I mean, this is perfect. I don't even know if I still have. I used to have an old glass Alfredo jar that I would use for screws, and it was great when I first started because I didn't usually have a ton of extra screws, and then I started buying back in the golden days. Gosh, I miss pre-pandemic 2018, 2019. That was peak. Because that was when I really started to gain traction with my computer flipping. And I remember, I will never forget, my first computer that I flipped totally for profit was a 4th gen i5 Dell Optiplex. I paid $40 for. We used to have a Goodwill computer shop that all they did was sell electronics and computers, and it wasn't very big. It was maybe like a 700 square foot shop, but it was off of the Goodwill outlets or the bins, and they finally closed. I was sad to see them go. I really did enjoy them so much. I always got so much cool stuff from them. But anyhow, I think I bought like a GTX 770. solid state hard drive. I was in that machine, not even a solid state, I think maybe a 60 gig boot drive. That machine, I was into it about $100. I sold it for $140. I made a $40 profit. And I think I underpriced that machine because it sold really quickly. But the wife was just really happy that I sold the machine. I was ecstatic that I sold the machine. But let's see. That's one set. Two. Both look like they're the same speed. I'm sure that's not even a thing on these newer subjective. Ninth gen to me is still new because, you know, like, shoot, my daily driver for a while was a 8th gen i5 3640. And my son actually now uses his system, which he's grossly overdue for an update or for an upgrade, is a 8th gen i5. So technically, his motherboard came with an i9 9900K. Should have kept that for him, but I mean, I paid $100 for the board with the processor and kept the board for him, and I sold the processor for like $300. That was like 3 years ago, and then he's got an RX 6600, which doesn't seem to die. So that was a good card. He plays. Honestly, he plays a lot of everything. He's got 100-ish games on Steam. He's constantly asking for, well, what can I do to make $20 or whatnot? Because he cares about Steam games, especially Steam sales. And some film on it. Yeah, no, this is actually a pretty decent looking system. So I get this bezel back on and see what we're dealing with here. So, I hate faceplates like that. I dislike faceplates like this. I don't want to say I always break them. I've gotten a ton better, but this gapping along here, little wacky whack. To kind of remind it. What I didn't see on this was a Wi-Fi card. It should have Wi-Fi. So this one I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if you could see that little hook right here. So I tried this. You don't have to change the bracket out for this to go into a full-size machine. Now, I do believe this actually, yeah, the screws there and there, but this bracket comes off. But because of this hook, it just latches into the back of the PCIe slot. I'm going to re-thermal paste that while I've got it out. And it looks great. So, another tool, electronics repair kit. Got this on Walmart for like $12. It's got all kinds of fittings, and it's got these little tweezers. Those get used so much. Not a bad looking thing. Only thing I wish that this had on it was an extension for this little drive. But this is like my second or third one of these. I have a little green one at work. Not the same kit, but like a precision screwdriver kit. And I had one that I picked up from the Tractor Supply. I think it's their, what is their US tool or something. But I had a good time with that one. But they weren't magnetized, and I wound up, I think I ate it one day and I dropped it in the field. Now, granted, it was like and when I say field, I work for the National Weather Service, and I have equipment in fields out at the airport or airports. I do a good number of the airports here in Central Arkansas, and I dropped it like knee-high grass, and I was like, well, that's just gone. There's no getting that back. That throwing place actually does look terrible, but it doesn't hurt to replace it anyway. So I really, really hope that if you're watching this or you see this, leave a comment or watch another video. Actually, just had a conversation today, a couple hours, talking about YouTube and life, and I enjoy doing this. This is fun for me. In my previous videos, I talked about being a little social anxiety and stuff. So this is a fun way for me to kind of have a creative outlet. The ADD kick or ADHD or whatever kicking in. I'm thinking about this dresser. I need to get this out of the way. But what can I say? It was a compromise with my wife when we bought the house. She doesn't understand the grind for YouTube. She does. She's great. I love her. But she'll be like, oh, why are you in the garage? You have a game room. And I'm like, I have pets. I have kids. I have a wife. There's lots and lots of times that I want to play something or record something or do something I need some quiet. And I can't because kids and dogs and my wife. Give this a quick dusting. You don't have to put stuff like this back on, but it does help concentrate the airflow. But people who design this stuff's a lot smarter than I am. So get that back on. Shoot, I hope it having a big bug. I hate backtracking. Oh shit. Plastic is so frustrating. Firm enough that it won't go where you want it to, but flimsy enough that it'll break. Yeah, dang it, I should have done that first, but I don't usually put the fan shots back on, so let me take this stupid thing off. Come on, I just need to undo all the let's do all the things that you want to do. There we go. So in small form factor systems like this, typically the CPU core is also the exhaust fan. It looks like this power supply has a fan mounted to the front, and the fan will pull air through it to keep it cool, but then the CPU cooler, as I said, expels air, and then that piece of plastic helps it tunnel through. Okay, let's look at this again. Side of one. I hope the audio is good. I don't know. As I said, this is just a whole ass new experience with me. Sorry for saying ass, but it's gonna happen. Let's see. Every freaking time. Like, whoever designed these is a creative genius, because they know that those plastic tabs are gonna break. People are gonna complain, and people are gonna want their computers to look good, so they'll throw another $40, or it's probably $100 bezel when it was new, to replace it, because heaven forbid something look ugly, which I get. You pay good money for something, you want it to be what you want. All right, SSD mounted, back on, looking good. Got this out. Where did I put that thermal paste? Where my toolbox? I don't really like this TM30. It's not the worst. That other tube that I was on is Arctic MX4, which kind of seems to be the GOAT, but Walmart selling computer components has not made that easy on me because I'm at Walmart a lot more than I'm at Best Buy, and I can buy that TM30 for like $6. And I don't want to say thermal paste is thermal paste is thermal paste, but it does pretty decent. Let's see, can you hear the cat caterwauling? She likes the. It's funny. She hates to be in the garage. We had an incident November of 24. She got out. I think she got out to the garage. She had to have it go out through the garage every morning for work. Wife called a couple hours later. Hey, cat's gone. Can't find her anywhere. We didn't have security cameras at the time, so who knows. But she was gone for 6 months. 6 freaking months. Through the winter. Kids were devastated, so we got our little puppy, and by little she was the youngest, but now she's the biggest dog. She's like an 85-pound chocolate lab brick something, I don't know. Her name's Elfie. She's sweet. She was feral when they got her, so it was really cool to watch her grow into trusting people. Big, scary sounding dog, but she's great. But anyhow, we got the dog, and then Joey came back. We were out of state visiting family. Wife calls me in tears. I'm at work. Let me rephrase that. I was working. They came along to freeload and see family. And she called me crying. They found the cat. I'm like, what do you mean they found the cat? That little bugger was found 5 houses down. Oh yeah, she showed up in the winter. It was so nice, and so we just kept her, and then she tried to go outside one day, and we let her out, and she never came back. And then another neighbor found her, and that's when they checked her chip, and they got her for us. Okay, so here we go. 512 gigs of storage. 4 gigabyte GDDR6 card, I believe is what that is. i5 9400, 16 gigabytes of RAM. Let's fire this bad boy up. What do we got? Let's see. Sorry, as I said, it's dirty. I got a lot going on. Oh, yep. My neighbor leaves at weird times. That's what you're hearing. That's making the dogs go off. But eventually I'm going to get another blanket, so that looks not so crappy. But anyhow, let's get this fired up. Let's see here. Sorry, that's a terrible view, but it is what it is. I don't know for perfection. So literally everything in my collection is. Oh yeah, this is so stupid looking. Look at this. You are little. There we go. Well, shoot, how am I going to do this? Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but or is it? I don't know if this is going to work. struggling. Not even with me. There we go. Stupid adapter up there. So, I don't know if you can see it, the little hook I was showing you. It's above there. But as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by myself, this is going to look stupid. So, we've got adapter to adapter, mini DVI or mini DisplayPort to DisplayPort, I think. DisplayPort to HDMI, HDMI into the TV. But what I was saying before all of that, everything about me is cheap. The TV on the wall, $20 Goodwill TV. I paid $20. Where did my dongle go? There we go. Finally got my own. Let's see, let's throw you down there. Whew, there we go. That post always gets me. Let's see what we're going to do. I know on Optiplexes, sometimes you get it does 3 power cycles to identify the new hardware, and then it boots. Aha, there we go. Look at that bad mamma jamma. And that is just a... Ooh. Well, we have somebody else's information, which means I am going to have to cut this because I did not do other people's information. I usually don't like to use drives, but in this environment, you get what you're coming with. Well, shoot, how is it? It's 12:35. You can tell I get older. I used to live for Friday nights and stay up all night. But anyhow, I am going to say thank you for joining me. If this ever reaches anybody, this was an interesting experience. So maybe we'll try it over a couple times. Got a lot of things to work on. I've got as I said, I'm working on TV trades, which if I can get an Intellivision and some games, not that it's a system I'm super interested in, but adding a new system to a collection is great. TV1, TV2, trading to a game store. Just got a plasma. I don't know. I keep hearing great things. It's HP Z440 is currently going to be reworked. A small 12-inch VCR CRT combo that doesn't work. But oh yeah, speaking of Goodwill, I got this one from Goodwill. I love this little black Emerson. There's nothing special about it, but it was my last CRT I've ever found at Goodwill. You can actually see. I got this in February of 23. Looks great, and that's not a Goodwill find. That was a Savers find. Still a thrift shop find. $15. $15 works great. But yeah, so well, that's about it. As I said, hope you like the kitty. But thanks for hanging out with me. And if anybody sees this, let me know with a like or something. I don't know if you want to go through and watch it, but anyhow, thanks. It was fun.